I'm going to give it to you for free. You know why? Because I want you to thrive. It is an important thing to understand that we're not saying rip off the market. We're not saying like just charge exuberant amount of money. No, the first way to increase your value in any market, okay, is to Michelle, if I'm giving them all of this information for absolutely free, what are they going to pay me for? But by the time they get to 1 million, you find. If you've ever wondered how to increase your pricing without scaring off your current customers, or how to increase your perceived value in the market, the strategy I'm about to share with you is going to move you from being just an underdog to being one of the top players in your industry, because your perceived value is going to increase. This is something that I've built, which is called the value ladder strategy, and I would normally give it to all of my clients who pay so much money to get access to it, but today I'm going to give it to you for free. You know why? Because I want you to thrive. If you're new here, hello, my name is Michelle Expert, and I'm the founder of a Resonate Hub and the founder of the Resonate podcast. We are essentially a sales and entrepreneurship hub, and we equip salespeople, entrepreneurs, side hustlers, and visionary with tools and tips to actually increase their revenue and build sustainable businesses. And today's video is just going to be a glimpse of that. So let's get started. Let's just start with talking about why it is important for you to increase your perceived value. It is an important thing to understand that sometimes people don't just buy things because they're available, but it's because of the perceived value that that specific thing actually has in the market. So perceived value is essentially how much we think something is worth. You have been in the market, in a store, online shopping, and you've seen something and thought to yourself, this must be expensive. Why? Because of generally how it looks and how it is packaged, and how just there's a perception around it based on how it looks that gave you the idea that this thing actually costs X amount of money. Whereas there are some things that you look at and you can essentially just decide that this thing costs between 1 to 10. It costs between 1 to 5. It's not within the hundreds based on how it looks. And sometimes what could be stopping a lot of people from buying from you is the perceived value based on how what you're presenting actually looks to them. So if your product currently says, I cost $10 and you're charging it $100, people are not going to buy, and people will constantly be wanting you to give them a discount because you have not tapped into the perceived value of that specific product or service. The same thing, if your service or your product currently is at 100 but you're charging 10, people are most likely taking advantage, and you're not making the amount of money that you want to make, even if what you have is valuable, mainly because you haven't truly met the perceived value with the reality of what it is that you're charging at the moment. So let's get into the value ladder. Now, these steps are 7, but for the purpose of this video, I'm only going to be sharing with you 4 of them, and then we'll do another video to share the rest of the 3. So let's start with the first one. The first one is very important. So remember, we are talking about how to increase your perceived value and to start climbing this value ladder that will increase the perception of how valuable you are. And essentially, the more perceived value you have in the market, the more you can charge, the more competitive you would be, and the more customers you have. Now, I also just want to put a disclaimer and say, when we say you charge more, we're not saying rip off the market. We're not saying like just charge exuberant amount of money. No, we're saying charge an amount that makes you happy. Charge an amount that is equal to the value that you bring into the market. So in as much as we're going to be working on your perceived value, it is going to have a lot to do with the actual value that you have. So you might start picking up some points here that are going to help you start crafting your offer and start crafting some of the things that you do in a way that's going to be more telling and that's going to actually increase the actual value anyway, as well as boosting the perception. So let's start with the first one. The first way to increase your value in any market, okay, is to master the information you know and make it accessible for free. It is essentially a strategy that I'm applying right now, okay? Free information consistently is going to be very important. So what does this look like for any kind of business? If you're somebody who's in the product business, what you want to start doing is start sharing more information around the ingredients that are built within the product. I promise you, you might think a lot of people don't care about them, but the more consistent you are, the more people, you basically start building a desire to help people care about that very thing you are sharing. So if you do skincare products, what are the ingredients within those skincare products that are crucial to people using on a daily basis, which then essentially make your product very important and your product essential to their skincare routine? Start sharing about them, the history, why those things are important, what do they do to your skin particles. The more that you start sharing those things, the more, number one, you start revealing yourself as a thought leader in the skincare industry overall, but also number two, you begin to be the voice that people trust. If people view you as a thought leader, they will essentially start trusting you. So this becomes very important. Now, it is easier said than done every time we talk about product-based business, because in the service industry, people think, Michelle, if I'm giving them all of this information for absolutely free, what are they going to pay me for? And I used to have that issue until I found a way to overcome it and to realize that it doesn't matter how much information you give out there. The more free and better information you give people out there, the more they are willing to pay you for more, because there's always more where this information came from. What used to happen to me is every time I put YouTube videos out, I used to just give out free information, but you'd realize that yes, I'm giving out a lot of free information, but people would then start coming for consultations. People would join our coaching programs that we had at the time. People would buy some of the things that we had in the business. It is important that you give that free information. And beyond just giving free information, a lot of corporate clients would start trusting us with speaking engagements, with workshops, because if what I am giving you right now for free is absolutely amazing and it's wow, it's great, it's like, oh my God, it's life-changing. Can you imagine what you would get if you paid me a little bit extra for more information for your business? It would transform the way that you do things. It would transform the way that you do business. So in the service industry, it is important to realize that it's not about giving away the free information, then people will never come to buy. No, the more free information you give, the more you actually attract high-end clients, because people who are willing to invest in any other service, they know that if they're getting this for free, they definitely do know that there is more out there. And the more free information you give out that is great and that is quality, the more actually you will be sort of motivated to dig into that free information, to give it more value, and to actually give now what you want people to be paying for, to even increase its value. So that's very, very important. Free information consistently. Don't do it when you're about to launch. Don't do it once in a while. It has to be consistent and it has to carry through, because that is the only way people are going to gain trust and people will start seeing you as a thought leader. All right. So the second one is evidence, results, and proof that it works. Now, this is going to be very important, but I want you to realize that it ties very well into the first point that I shared. How do you start getting proof that the strategies and the things that you're selling actually work? Is you have to service a certain amount of people. You have to be sharing that free information. Now, think about it this way. You share all of this free information as a service business or as a product. You actually start giving people more information, and then people start giving you feedback. What is that? You're gaining testimonials to share that the work that you actually do not only matters, but it is changing people's lives. Very, very important to realize. It is important that you actually share proof. People always want to know if what you're saying and the things that you're sharing actually work for the people that you are sharing it to, or the people that you're selling it with. How do I know that this cream is going to work for me and it's not going to burn my skin? The only way I might know is if you can show me evidence that you've used it on 100 other people or 50 other people and it has done wonders for them. Do not be shy about the testimonials coming in your business if you already do have them. But if you don't, I need you to realize that you're not giving people enough value for them to have something to talk about a lot. It is important that when people, like, you need to realize that, and you need to think about it for yourself. If somebody is giving you the best service ever, you are going to want to talk about them all the time. Why? Because you're so impressed and you're going to shout from the rooftop about how awesome this is. It's the same even in the Christian community. We speak so much about Jesus because let me tell you, the things that the Lord has done for us and in our lives are just, they are huge. You can't keep quiet about them. The same has to be with your products and your services. You basically have to employ the same strategy Jesus was using and really put it in your business. How much more can you give people without them having to hula hoop, without them having to pay more, without them actually having to do so much for them to rave about you and want to invest? Sometimes you've helped somebody by something that you've done for them, or the information that you've given, or a YouTube video that you did, that they will buy something from you, not necessarily because they need it at that time, but because they just want to invest back. You basically are attracting the law of reciprocity. So this point of sharing results and evidence and proof, it becomes very, very important. You have to get feedback that your strategies work. Otherwise, how are we going to know that they work? Otherwise, how are you also going to know that they work? And even if you do know how they work, how do you know what else you need to do and how you can improve them? But the only way to do that is when you basically get that evidence behind it. So it's very important. Do the work with your clients, okay, and the audience to attain that feedback. Feedback means work has already been done. So when you don't have feedback, it means we really don't know if you actually are working with somebody or you're not. So it's going to be very important, okay? Remember, a quick recap. Number one is free information consistently. Number two is results, evidence, and proof that what you're sharing and what you're giving us actually works. The third one is going to be consistency. Now, I know I scream from the top of my lungs for this all the time. But I want to give an example and complete proof of how this worked in my business in a very favorable way. If you have been on this channel, you know that we've got the Resonate podcast, which is the best and the biggest sales and entrepreneurship podcast in the whole wide world. We have been doing this podcast for less than 2 years. No, literally less than a year and a half to say, right? But this podcast is now getting us a lot of brand deals, now getting us a lot of traction, and now has essentially grown the business as Resonate Hub. Now, our podcast is amazing. We have the most amazing conversations, but so do other podcasters. But I think the biggest thing that separates the man from the boys is how consistent you are for a period of time. If you are consistent for 3 months and then stop showing up, the results will not accumulate enough to be exponential to give you big growth that you need. But if you're consistent for 12 months, for 2 years, for more time, you actually activate that number one law of reciprocity, but also most importantly, the trust that people will constantly watch because this is something that they're always expecting. Think about the soapies that we used to watch. If you're in South Africa, we had Generations growing up, Skim Sam, which currently plays. We know what time Generations plays on TV. There's no doubt about that. And if you are young and you were little and you had a program or a show that you used to watch, you always knew what time that show played, and you automatically centered your entire life around that specific program so you can actually catch it and watch it. That is the part about consistency. Consistency is not only about showing up all the time, but it's being able to show up all the time in an elongated period of time, because guys, success can be exponential. That's why there's this saying I love. It's literally my WhatsApp status. I think I've had it for years. And it says that it takes years of training to become an overnight success. A lot of people that you see becoming overnight successes, it's not because they just blew up today. They have been working at it for years, but because success it's like it compounds, right? And as it compounds, you start from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. By the time you get to 10, from 1 to 10 is a bit harder, but from 10 to 20, it takes a shorter time. From 20 to 30, it takes a shorter time. It's the same thing with money. The more money you begin to make, the easier it is to start jumping to hundreds and thousands and. Same as followers. Usually for a lot of people, from 1,000 to 10,000 is difficult. But the moment they get to 10,000, they start growing. Some people, they really have, it's progressive when they get from 1 to 1 million. But by the time they get to 1 million, you find that it took them, let's say 2 years to get to 1 million followers, but it will take them a month or 2 to get to 1.5 million. Success is always compounding. And for you to be able to attain that exponential growth, it is important that you realize that you have to be consistent. It is something that we scream so much. So essentially, consistency will reveal the growth that you start attaining for your business. Okay, you start increasing your followers, increasing your revenue, you start increasing all of those people that are raving about the work that you do, etc. So consistency is key. Okay. The fourth point is something we talk so much about, but sometimes in a controversial manner, and truly do not know how we can actually use this. The fourth point is collaboration and PR. I know this is a conversation that we used to have before the modern day and age, and now we use our own social media platforms to craft this PR for us and collaborate. But to literally keep it simple, collaboration is very important. One of the key drivers that will help people, their perceived value of you to increase, is the people that you associate yourself with, especially if, for instance, you are in a service-based business or you're in a thought leader. The people that you'll be speaking with at events, the people that you share stages with, the people that you associate yourself with, or the people sometimes that you even congratulate on your platforms, and the people that you engage with become people that you automatically are associated with. And based on what people think about those people, they will they will automatically assume and put you within the category of that person. Now, if you are in the business of associating yourselves with low-end people or people who are still kind of also graveling, there's nothing wrong with it from an authenticity point of view, but from a perceived value, what I want you to understand, or even showcasing those relationships, because I know this is such a controversial point and I don't want you to take this otherwise. I want you to see this from this perspective. If you are looking at your business and you say, I want people to perceive my value here, it is important that the things that you're sharing on your page and the people that you associate yourself with on your pages and on the things that you talk about, and sometimes the association, to be honest, is within the numbers. Instead of saying, if you're going to make an example of, for instance, like 10 Rand, that tells us where you think about money and how you think about money from a consumer perspective. But if your examples are in the thousands, if your examples are, for instance, in dollars, which is a global currency that a lot of people respect, that crafts a certain perspective and a certain perceived value. Very, very important. Collaboration and PR, being seen with other high-end value people and thought leaders on the same stages or interviews as well. This also has a lot to do with media houses as well, the kind of radio stations you get invited to, the kind of TV shows you get invited to. Those are also things that you need to look at. These give, I literally noted here, this give a perception that you're in demand and more well-known, which makes people want to listen to you more. And a lot of people get stuck here and then stop doing all the previous steps they've taken. So very, very important. Now, what we call this collaboration and PR is called framing. Okay, that's literally what it is. If you've noticed, the Kardashians do this all the time. People who are in the high end, like with millions and they do this all the time, where it's framing, right? It's based on, sometimes it's crisis management, sometimes it's essentially how they want you to view them. So it's the circles that they hang out, where the cameras will find them, the things that they will talk about, the things that they will retweet, the things that they will essentially kind of move and be about. The books that they will tell you they read will tell you more about them. So every single thing you share on your platforms, whether it's products or you're a thought leader, every single thing you share on your platforms gives us a perceived value of you. Without you even telling us that, guys, think like this about me, we already do think a certain way about you based on the things that you share. If you tell us you're having breakfast, what kind of breakfast? If you're telling us you've got a meeting and this is what you're doing and this is what you're working on, all of those small little details form part of framing the kind of brand and the kind of person that you are, that essentially gives us a perception about you. So this becomes very, very important. Just a quick recap to make sure that you understand these 4 points. And like I always say, every time you're noting these things down, it is important that you take them and you start working them out for your business. We said number one is free information, which is basically mastering the information you know and how to make it accessible and applicable in your market. If you're able to give people free information that is so good, they're like, oh my God, why are we not paying for this? It is very important. It's going to help more people rave about you and more people buy the things that you're actually putting money on. The second one, okay, is doing the work with your client/audience to attain the transformation so that you can actually have the results, the evidence and the proof that it works as testimonials and actually just word of mouth and people rooting for you and the work that you're actually giving them. The third one is going to be consistency, and this consistency has to translate into exponential growth for your business, because remember, success is compounding, and the more consistent you are, the more growth you will see in your sales and your revenue and your followership and your community and essentially your business. And then the fourth one is framing, which is essentially collaboration and PR, which are the cues that you're basically giving us each and every single day whenever you talk about your products and or your services or just your daily life and the things that you care about the most. Those things help us perceive you a certain way. Now, those are 4 things that I'm just going to share with you in this video so that I do not overwhelm you. However, I'm going to be doing another video and I'm going to share actually the rest of the 3, and I think the 3 are going to blow your mind, because what you need to realize is that it's not truly about your product only being great, but it's about the tactics surrounding your product that increase the perceived value. And the more you are aware of your perceived value, the more you will start working even on the generic value of it so that it comes out even more, and we put a bit of butterflies to it. We make it look pretty, we make it great. I really hope that this video is something that you're going to take and you're going to apply for your business. And when you've done that, it's going to give you results. But like I always say, craft it for your business. You know your business better. You have the stats, but please use each and every single thing and every single information that I'm giving you, because it is going to be helpful. With that said, I love you so much, and I'll see you guys on our next YouTube video. We're going to be doing several content. Like, comment, share this with somebody that you know is going to definitely benefit from this. And if you are not subscribed to this channel and you're watching, please do subscribe. This helps us so much get better guests for our podcast, do more content, and most importantly, grow our business as well. Thank you so much. See you guys in our next one. Goodbye.